We all hear about the smart classroom, right? It sounds amazing, but what's the real price of all that tech? That's what we're going to dig into today.
Okay, so picture this. It's a scene playing out in millions of homes, probably yours too. Your child is glued to a tablet or a laptop, totally into these apps that are supposed to teach them math, science, you name it.
But here's the thing we really need to ask. While our kids are busy learning, what are these apps learning about them? It's like there's this secret lesson plan happening in the background, and our kids are the subject. And look, we're not talking about some small, niche corner of the internet here. EdTech, that's educational technology, it's become this gigantic ecosystem, especially in India. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry we're talking about. It's completely changed how our kids go to class, how they do their homework, even how they get help from AI tutors. The scale is just wow. And that means the stakes are incredibly high. All right, so let's pull back the curtain and take a look at this hidden data curriculum. Because while your child is staring at that screen, you better believe the screen is staring right back, and it's collecting a ton of their personal info. And the stuff they're collecting, it's mind-boggling. It's way, way more than just a name and age. We're talking about their face, their voice, even tracking their emotions through tiny little facial expressions. Yeah, really. Every single tap on the keyboard, screen recordings, where they are, it can all be logged. And all that data gets fed into something called behavioral profiling. Basically, every click, every time they hesitate, even how long they stare at a question, it all gets tracked to build this digital file on them. And this isn't just about making the lesson better. Nope. It's about trying to predict what they'll do next, creating this digital ghost that could follow them around for years. So you gotta ask why. Why build these super detailed profiles? Well, it almost always comes down to money. It's something called invisible commercial monetization. Fancy term, but it just means your child's data, how they learn, what they struggle with, it becomes a product used to sell more courses, to market better, and to hit you, the parent, with the perfect ad at the perfect time. So if we boil it all down, the biggest risks are these three things. 1, they're collecting way more data than they need. 2, they're using that data to build marketing profiles. And 3, we're seeing more and more AI surveillance, like face scanning and emotion tracking, creeping right into the classroom. It's a lot. Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. There's been a huge development here. India is fighting back with what you could call a new digital shield, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or DPDP Act for short. And there are new rules coming in 2025. And this is a huge deal. It's a total game changer. Think about it. Before, you had those tiny little consent boxes you just click without thinking. Now, companies need verifiable parental consent. Before, this kind of harmful profiling on kids was possible. Now, it's banned. And those vague rules about keeping data forever? Gone. Now there are super strict limits. So what do these new protections actually look like? Well, first, companies have to prove a parent said okay. The burden is on them. Second, using a child's behavior to market to them, that's out. Third, they have to delete the data once they're done with it. And you know those ridiculously long legal notices? They have to be replaced with simple versions even a kid can understand. It's a massive step forward.
But, and there's always a but, right? As good as this new shield is, it's not foolproof. It has some gaps. There's still some pretty big challenges we need to talk about.
This line really hits the nail on the head. Consent does not prevent harm. It merely shifts responsibility. Think about that. Just because you, as a parent, click I agree, doesn't magically make an app safe. All it really does is move the blame from the company onto your shoulders. And that really exposes the fundamental conflict of interest here, right? You've got the EdTech companies, whose goal is to get more paying users, collect data, and sell stuff. Then you have what's best for a child, being able to learn and explore safely without being tracked or sold to. A lot of the time, those two things just don't mix. And the leftover challenges, they're pretty serious. For one, these AI algorithms are like black boxes. We have no idea how they're making decisions. Most schools just don't have the tech experts to figure this stuff out. And what about when an algorithm gets it wrong? What happens when a biased AI unfairly slaps a label on a kid, calling them a slow learner or low potential? The damage could be huge. So, after all that, where do we go from here? Well, the good news is there's a clear path forward. People have a vision for a much safer future, one that puts a child's rights first. And one of the coolest ideas is something called EdTech transparency labels. Just think about it, like a nutrition label on your food, but for an app. A simple, easy-to-read label that tells you straight up, here's the data we collect, here's who we share it with, and here's how long we keep it. Suddenly, parents have the power to actually make an informed choice. Because without that kind of transparency, this is the scary reality. Behind the scenes, a permanent digital profile is being built, slapping labels on your kid like easily distracted, or flagging you, the parent, as a high purchase intent target. And these digital labels, they can have very real consequences in the real world. Which brings us to another really powerful idea, the right to a data detox. This would be a child's right to hit the reset button, to wipe the slate clean, to erase all those old profiles and predictions so they can get a fresh start as they grow and change, like kids are supposed to. So how do we make this stuff happen? Well, it takes real policy changes. Things like making sure big edtech companies have a data protection officer on staff, demanding independent audits to check if their algorithms are biased, and frankly, an outright ban on creepy tech like facial recognition and emotion AI in any classroom, period. At the end of the day, the goal is simple. We need to build an edtech world that is actually centered around the child. An ecosystem that's transparent, that's safe, that has privacy baked in from the very beginning, and is guided by what's right, not just by what's possible with technology. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought, because it really says it all. In an era where data is currency, children must never be the price of innovation. I mean, innovation is great. We all want progress, but it can never, ever be worth sacrificing our kids' privacy and their future. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Next time you see your child using one of these apps, just ask yourself, is this thing truly built for my child? Or is it built for the data my child creates? Because the answer to that question, well, it changes everything. Thanks for tuning in.